Before the actual podcast begins, I'd like to thank everybody humbly from the bottom of my heart for taking the opportunity to check out this podcast during their trip on the train, or to work, or from work, or at home, relaxing, drinking a cold beer, drinking a cold tea, drinking a hot tea, drinking any sort of tea possible. Again, thank you all for listening in, and let's begin. Hello, and welcome to the DanVanDam and Friends podcast, where this week I am flying solo. So, we're going to crack straight into these articles. This might be a slightly short episode because of the fact I'm not going to be bouncing off anybody. Non-sexually, I promise you. But anyway, basically we're going to go into a couple topics. It's going to be about 6 or so, so it might stretch a little bit, who knows. Alright, so the first topic is going to be about Nintendo's partnership with DNA, which is spelled D-E-N-A. Now, if you look on your smartphones, so if you have like a smartphone, a tablet, anything like that, you can look at it while I'm talking about this, and you can kind of get the comparisons, or you can look online and get those said comparisons. I have my smartphone right here. I don't have anything brought up, however, with the facts of DNA, but you can probably find it anywhere else on a news source for that sort of comparison if you need that. So basically, alright, so if you guys have been underneath a rock like myself most of the time, Nintendo has set up a partnership with DNA, which consists of them allowing someone to do third-party applications, which are going to be games or whatever else involving licensed Nintendo characters such as Mario, Samus, Little Nemo, who knows? Little Nemo's not, it's actually Capcom, but Donkey Kong or whatever else. So what this means is that most of these games could be free-to-play. Now, everyone who knows what free-to-play means can kind of see where this is heading. And you might grit your teeth. I mean, most applications or most games on smartphones or tablets, whatever else, are mostly free. That's the demographic. I mean, most people use a paywall, some people use a buy-to-play, buy-to-win kind of scenario most of their games. Candy Crush, for example, I think is the most less brutal out of all of them so far, I've noticed. I mean, there's a few others out there, like, what is it? I have to actually bust out my phone now, because I can't remember the darn name. And that, of course, is, what is it? Games you basically get what you pay for, as well as games as Peggle Blast. That's what it was. Now, my mind is now relieved for that useless information to spewed out of my mouth. So yes, Peggle Blast is basically one of the few games I've noticed that doesn't really have too many paywalls that I've even comprehended. It's a pretty decent game too. But yeah, Nintendo's basically allowing them to be licensed out, so in better words, you might be getting a lot of games that could be paid walled or whatever else. It just doesn't sound like a good thing for most consumers who generally like Nintendo and own smartphones. But I don't know, maybe this could be an overly blown out proportioned style of thinking. It could be just, very mellow transactions, or it could be heavy transactions. Who really knows? I'm not completely experienced with DNA and their products per se. I've never really encountered them, if I've noticed them at all, but most of their stuff is mostly in Japan anyway, so it's something I cannot grasp or take a hold of. Now, I think that's sort of a funny comparison because of the recent stuff with Konami. Now, everyone knows what Konami's doing to go in this whole entire mobile route, which is people are just flipping tables like myself and just going freaking batshit crazy, which I can understand why. I mean, such a company as this, while they're doing pretty bad, they could sort of easily pull themselves out of a gutter if they just listened to their fans, but they haven't. They've been going freaking crazy. Two Flew from the Cuckoo's Nest, or whatever the hell that movie's called. Basically like that. So, Nintendo's partnership is them branching themselves out. They're bringing back the championships. I mean, this is something I think is kind of a good thing in Nintendo's shoes, but for other companies, I don't think it's so great, because Nintendo's still focusing on consoles. They're doing the new NX system, which I'm thinking is going to be a phone or some shit, because of the fact that they're licensing their stuff out to DNA. You see where I'm going with that? So you basically have both worlds combined into that, so you pretty much have a big library of games that DNA's will be cranking out like whores on crack on steroids and everything else that's a thing you can inject into yourself, basically such as that. Now, moving on, basically Assassin's Creed Syndicate is going to be coming out, or it's been announced quite a little bit a while ago. Now, this is kind of a Victorian style to it. I've seen some trailers for it and some gameplay. I'm not really interested, to be honest with you. I'm kind of getting sick and tired of Assassin's Creed games, sort of like I'm kind of getting sick and tired of Call of Duty games. I mean, the style, or at least the approach they're going with Call of Duty, I'm just not digging it at all. I liked Call of Duty at one point. I mean, same with Assassin's Creed. I didn't have a problem with these games. It's just sort of like it's the same old shit, so I'm kind of feel like I'm wasting my money to even invest in any of these games. I own 1, 2, and 3 of Assassin's Creed. I owed, up to Call of Duty Ghosts on PS3, but past that point, I don't want any more of those games. I feel like if I really wanted to play these older games or play the same style of game, I'll just go back to the older games. But that's just it. Most of the servers for like Modern Warfare 1 or Black Ops 1 probably going to be obsolete by now and filled with people who are maliciously using scripts or basically using hacks to basically play the game. Now, I'm not saying this because they're skilled, I'm just saying they're literally using, these scripts to fuck around the servers now, so it's basically the Wild West at this point. So if you want to play Modern Warfare 2 or whatever, you're screwed. You ain't gonna have a straight, legit game anymore. That's just how it is, plus the game's a little bit old anyway, so you don't expect a heavy demographic of fair playership, as most of those have moved on to older, newer games. But yeah, I'm personally getting sick and tired of the Assassin's Creed series. I've heard a lot of friends say, "Oh, dude, you gotta get Unity." It's like, Unity's broken as shit, man. I ain't touching that. I mean, the idea, I was watching that trailer for it looked cool, but then I saw the execution and I cried in my pants, because it was just, cried in my pants, it made no sense. But anyway, basically, it did not look anything very appealing. I mean, Syndicate doesn't look like anything very appealing to me, so therefore I'm not going to purchase it. So, speaking of Nintendo, they're also licensing themselves out to Universal Park Studios, which I love Universal Studios. I love the themes of their, just because of the fact that there's a bunch of movies I've tied to, such as Jaws and all that. Oh, God, Back to the Future, don't get me started. I'm having a chub right now. Anyway, so basically, Nintendo is going to be branching themselves out. You have park rides such as Mario Kart, which is probably going to be really fucking cool. And you're going to have plenty of weeboos going in that freaking place dressed up like Mario, Luigi, and Princess Peach, and a bunch of cosplayers going through there, mark my words, which would be kind of cool, though. It brings some life to the park, I think. And there's a lot of fans who generally know what Mario is, so that's an easy attraction to fill the bracket for Universal. You also got, I think it's Harry Potter there, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think Harry Potter is at the Universal's attractions as well. So you get this nice mix of variety in that place now. I mean, you had TNA Impact tapings there. You're going to have Mario. You're going to have Harry Potter, which I personally want to try out the butterbeer. That actually sounds very delicious, but of course my diabetes, if I even have any, is probably going to explode and shoot through my legs, and my body's just going to implode into some sort of epic proportions because of the fact I'll be riding those rides at Nintendo theme park attraction. I don't live anywhere near Florida, so I'm not able to be, unfortunately, going on these rides anytime soon in my lifetime because I am cheap and lazy. So, speaking of cheap and lazy, I'm probably not going to see this at peripheral either, and that, of course, is the Oculus Rift. Now, supposedly the Oculus Rift is going to cost over $800 total just for the item you need to even use the thing, which is going to need an $800 gaming PC to do so. Now, there's parts and peripherals and all these specs and all that shit all over the internet. You can look it up if you really want to, but personally to me it's sort of silly just for a silly VR device. But I can see the appeal of it, but I just would never use it. Like, when the fuck am I ever going to use this device? I mean, that's how I'm thinking. Some people who are really rich are going to enjoy this thing probably to the ends of the earth. They're going to get this novelty out of it and probably get sick of it or get motion sickness or just straight up sell it on Craigslist for $20. Who really knows at this rate? But speaking of something under $20, Mad Max Fury Road is getting a lot of high praise. And this is a question to you folks on my channel here or on SoundCloud in general. And that, of course, is, will you go see Mad Max Fury Road in the theaters? Or will you catch it on Blu-ray? Will you catch it on DVD? Will you catch it on Netflix? Will you catch it in general? Because it's been getting a lot of good praise. I looked at the trailers and I was salivating at the idea. It just looks so good. I have not seen a Mad Max movie in seasons. I mean, seasons and seasons and seasons. In years, too, if you want to toss that in there for a bracket. But it just, the cinematic presentation is just, But just a little bit of question for you guys to hopefully answer. And next week, I'm going to be having a special guest on the show, as well as the cast that was here, supposed to be here this week, but unfortunately, due to some circumstances, some had to step out, and some just could not make it. So, which is completely fine. I was able to knock this, hopefully, I hope, out of the park for this week. But anyway, next week, of course, will be Vexy Vampire. I'm going to be giving her some Q&A, get to know her as a community member here on the YouTube gaming community, as well as on the general interwebs. Going to ask her about some of her projects, what are her favorite things, just little things like that, just to help you guys get a education, her persona. Not the game persona, but just her personality and everything else like that. But that is all for now. Thank you all for listening in, and as always, more soon.